Welcome back to another watercolor demonstration. Today's subject is in the Norfolk town of Brandon. You can see we've got lots of buildings here, a couple of figures, some cars, traffic light, another light here. The light itself is coming from this direction, so as the buildings are in shadow. We've got grey slate roofs, Pantar roof here, and light grey road. So we've got enough information here to get into this painting, so let's get straight into it. We're going to start with the sky. We're just going to pop that in because this is so complicated in terms of the amount of elements in here, the buildings, the lights, the people, the cars. There's a lot going on. We're going to keep the sky really simple, so we're not going to have it busy at all. I'm just going to pop into some of this raw sienna. It's a bit strong, I'll take that out in a second. Some of that can come in here and be an underpainting on some of these buildings, and then we'll come back in and have a look at and sort that out in a little while. It's important to get to establish an overall kind of colour theme, so we're going to just pop these in and then we'll sort that out and take stuff back out again. So a little bit of water, get some tissue, just going to take the sky back. That mixture, as we said, was a bit too strong. I just want that as a hint. And we're just going to come in with some of this cerulean blue, pop that in there, let that blend and bleed in, and that's that done. And we'll just establish some tones around here. So we'll go back into the cerulean and a touch of this raw sienna, touch of alizarin crimson there. We're just going to mix up a little grey mixture. It's one of the three primaries, and we're just going to pop that into this path. And on the other side we have the road. There's a zebra crossing here, which means we can leave some white patches. So, and the road will probably come in darker, or the path, one or the other. We don't want them the same, otherwise it will look like the same structure. And that's it. We're going to let that dry and then we'll get into the next part. So this is dry enough to start to work in for the next section, and I'm looking at my notes from my sketch to see what to do next. I think what we'll do is we'll establish some of these other kind of warmer tones on the building. So this is burnt sienna. Now lots of the buildings in Norfolk are this kind of tone and colour, and most of these here are, and we won't be too precise with this, we'll just sort of get it in nice and loose. I'm holding the brush at the tip, as you can see, or the handle rather, at the end, and that means you can't fiddle around by going in close and making the painting, very tight. We don't want that. So I just carefully go around these three arches, which are a nice feature. A little bit of repetition there, and the figures, and we're going to build our focal point around this area. That's kind of almost it for that part of the underpainting. And there. And I'm just going to run in some clear water there. I don't want that to look too much of an edge on the bottom. We're going to go in for some slate grey now. Touch of blue in there. So this is just Payne's grey and ultramarine. Make it quite liquidy. Just test with the back of my finger that this is dry, otherwise it will bleed into the sky. Just have a quick look at what it says. Okay. So that might be a problem there. That was a Pantar roof here. So we'll pop that one in. traffic light there. We'll sort that out later. The blending and the bleeding, I don't mind that going in into that at all. It's absolutely fine. Another roof there. This one, it said that it was a pan-tile roof. That's going to be a bit weird, because if we put that in as a pan-tile roof, I mean, that'll pull that building forward. I'm just going to use my own artistic license and just pop it in the same colours. Just take some of the liquid out here with the tip of the brush. And again. There we go. It's quite nice to have the raw sienna bleeding through. Let's just test that it's not quite dry enough there to put this roof in. This one we could pop in. This is part of the building, so it's part of this mixture. There we go. In here as well, because remember we're going to be popping in shadows. These are gaps of light through here, which is quite useful as a device because it will make the eye go there. Next stage really is to start to think about some details. We'll go into our burnt umber to do that. For some of these finer details, a bit of dry brush work on these as well. It's just establishing some of these pencil lines. So we'll go into that. Pop in a few of the windows. Another one there. One here. Put in a bit of this grey as well, just to mix it up a little bit. So that's that. Around the arch, there was shadows here. Coming down, I'm just going to make that a bit darker with this Payne's grey. So we're going to want the eye to come here. Pop in the head with these two characters, keep them quite dark. Okay, we'll pop in some of the windows here as well. These are kind of shop fronts down the front here. Just keep it all nice and loose really. Just put in a few of these marks for the path. Coming round, join a few things up. I just spotted a roof there that we missed. Just pop that in. On the actual sketch, that's a really dark roof, so I think we'll just leave it for the moment as it is, because we want the eye. You don't always need to mimic what's in nature. It's quite good to get some variation. But this is where we want the eye to come to. Dark is dark and light is light, and while we're thinking of that, let's pop in this figure. Pop them in a blue top, get rid of that. And we'll go for a red top here for the character next door. Whoops, we'll have to sort out the head. Pop the head back in, and while we're there, can bleed in a little bit. There we go. Got quite a lot of this mixture on here, just to make sure it's not too much. Looks like it's too much. Just bring out a few of these details on the buildings. You can pop in the chimneys here as well. So there's quite a lot of fiddly bits and bobs on this composition. Always good to get your eye in on buildings and simplify them as much as possible. That's the idea, is to get them nice and simple. There's Payne's grey going in there as well on the bits and bobs of the roof. We don't have to outline every single thing. We'll pop in that lamp there while we're at it. And this traffic light, we can pop that in as well. We've got a traffic light on this side, so we could pop in the pole of that. We've got these cars. Now we need to be thinking about the cars, and we could keep them quite subdued. There's some blue in here, just a bit of light blue for this car. Similar sort of colours in here as well. We don't want it competing with our focal point here, so I'll keep this all nice and loose. And the other car, we won't have it white. We'll just have it a light grey. There. While we're at it, we'll pop in the wheels. Just pop them in quick, and then we'll pop in. I need to make that mixture a bit more liquidy. Just shadows. The shadows are really important under cars. They're always pretty dark. We need to bear that in mind. So we'll come back to this roof on the clock tower and just pop that in as well. There's a couple of bits popping out here, which is quite nice. Just leave that there. It's just coming off here. Just sort that out. And the clock itself, we'll keep it simple. Let's just pop in a few more details now. We've got this brush loaded up. Just edges of things and walls, and just a little bit sharper. As you can see, a little bit more defined. And that's kind of joining things up. You've heard me say this a little time and time again. In watercolour, you need to kind of have lines that join. Well, in any painting really. Otherwise it just looks a bit odd if they don't join. Okay, we'll start now to think about just finishing off these couple of characters here. Popping in their legs. A bit of an arm. Bit of an arm down here. It's trying to get movement. The great thing about having dry brush, where you can see specks of the underpainting, is it does give the kind of illusion of movement. And we'll have some shadows in there as well. Okay, as we said, keeping it simple, and that's what we got to do. So then we'll come in and we'll sort out the shadows for the final part. So getting to the end now, we're going to pop in the shadows and just a few other details. So let's just put in one of the first shadows here. Got one there in the figures. So in here, so some of the details in there. We'll pop in these a bit darker. This side of the cars, they're kind of in shadow. Got to look back at my notes and see what else we've got in shadow. Mainly, most of these buildings here. Just carefully go around that traffic light. are in shadow. Let's pop there. Back there. All of these here are shadow there. All of this. Under the eaves. Just sort that out a little bit there. Now then, we're going to pop a large shadow across the front. I do this quite often. It kind of just pulls the whole painting together, really. Like a strong shadow colour. As if there's a building or something over this side. Buildings would make more sense, wouldn't they? Because we're in a town. And indeed there are buildings over there, so let's just do that. The other bit that we didn't do, that needs to be sorted out with some quite dry paint, is the edge of this pavement coming round and there. Just sort that detail out on there. So I'm just gonna pop in on these figures. Stronger one there. And then on the traffic lights, I'll just pop in some red for stop. I'm kind of almost there. Looking back, a lot of this, my sketches, is in shadow, so there was in shadow. All of there. All of this as well, which should help with the eye going towards here, which it does, although I did prefer it strangely as it was. I thought that was a bit nicer. So sometimes you just need to go, you know what, I liked it the way it was before. Tissue's great for doing that sort of thing quickly, so we've obviously not gone back to the way it originally was instantly, but that's kind of nice. And to be honest, I think we're about done. There's not much more to pop in here. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll try to keep these demos really fast. Let's just finish that off there, and fresh as we possibly can. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that, and remember to like, to subscribe, to keep looking for this content, but most importantly, take care now and happy painting. So finally at the stage where painting is dry enough to take off the tape, and we can see the finished painting basically. There we go.